Yo, what's up, everybody? It's CJ Harris here in the Motostop Show. We're back in Jacksonville, Florida, right here in the Big Deal Production Studio. I got a very special guest with me in-house here in our studios, none other than Damian Plotz. Damian, sir, welcome, man.
Thank you, Matt. Glad to be here. It's very exciting. It was a pleasure to come down to Florida, get to be on the show, and do some training.
Yeah, we're going to get into what you got going on here a little bit later, but I know one thing's exciting in Florida in the winter is definitely better than being up north in the cold.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Florida boy at heart, so I love the sunshine. You know, the 80-degree weather days we have out here, we get to ride year-round. So, yeah, truly great. Man, let's talk about something else great. How about Anaheim 2? Just came, just went. There was some amazing action that happened.
Absolutely.
Some heartbreaks that happened. Tell me, what was your big take from Anaheim 2, Damian? What was the main thing that stood out? I think I know, but...
Well, the main thing that stood out to me was how solid Dungey is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people would probably say the mistake that Roxon made, but Dungey's solid. He's got a program. And I've heard some bad, negative things on social media about how the fastest guy isn't winning, all this negative stuff. But I'm like, it takes more than turning the throttle to be a champion.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, and I probably couldn't have said it better than myself. I mean, you know, if you're only there for 2 or 3 rounds, the Ken Roxon accident we'll talk about here in a little bit is very unfortunate. But if you're only there for 2 or 3 rounds, it doesn't matter if you're racing, you know, the Monster Energy Cup, the Monster Supercross Series, whether it's the Red Bull Outdoor Series, a local series, you're not going to win a championship. And Dungey has been time after time that consistent, you know, getting that name, Dungey the Diesel, for none other than, you know, just warming up the glow plugs at the beginning of the season. He's going to be full steam at the end of the season there. So very consistent out there, Dungey the Diesel. It put in another great ride, you know.
Absolutely.
And some could say maybe Roxon was trying to push to get to the front and that made him mess up. I don't see it that way, but, you know, it has been said out there. So, well, let's dive into that crash. Ken Roxon, man, oh, man, out for the series, out for the season. Hopefully we should see him back right before Outdoors comes out. I think the final thing was compound fracture in his arm, dislocated elbow, as well as a shoulder. And I guess from what the doctors are saying that there's more damage and more concern with the dislocation and the shoulder and the elbow than there is actually in the compound fractures because you got ligament damage and all, you know, and nerve damage and stuff like that. But, man, I'm sure you've seen the crash probably 100 times over. And I'll tell you a mistake I did, folks. I DVR'd my races, so I watched it live. Then I rewinded the crash, and I watched it again. And then I watched it probably 20 times on myself. And then the next day I had to watch it probably 9,565 times on social media. But it was gnarly, for sure.
Well, I'm not one that did watch it 10,000 times.
Okay, well, you got lucky.
You know, and I'd probably share this, what I'm going to say. Most pro riders that have actually made a living and have broken 25-plus bones is... Man, you do not want to see that stuff. And it's sketchy and it's scary and it chills your back. You know, not saying, I know you're a racer also, but I think there's something different about that when you're out there day in, day out, and you know you're pushing for sponsor, for paycheck, everything else, and every little moment counts, and every little mistake counts even bigger, unfortunately.
No, I agree with you. And it was all I could do, chills, to watch it. I just wanted to dissect the video and really try to analyze what happened. And to what you said, I'm the same way. You've probably seen that video on social media where the guy jumps out in the desert and his front tire comes off his forks. And he smashes it. That video has been going around for the last few weeks. Everybody's posting it. But that clip, because I don't have to really watch it and analyze it, I can't look at it anymore as I scroll. So it's like swiping through, swipe as fast as I can to get by it. So, yeah, I agree.
It hurts.
It does hurt.
Yeah,
it hurts like hell because I've broken way too many bones myself.
And to elaborate on Roxon, it hurt me because I know the work that he probably put in coming up to that. And I loved his persona and coming in and wanting to raise the bar with the whole suit. And, you know, I think even the media stuff that he was doing, you know, he was showing some people would say a cocky side, but a very confident side because he was believing in his program. And me now, as a retired old pro guy that wants to train the young guns coming up through, my biggest challenge is to get them to believe in believe in their program, believe in themselves, so when they're on their line, they're not focused on the yo-yo next to them.
That's right. It's a mental game.
You know, and really that's the way a lot of these guys should be talking. Now the guy next to him is not necessarily a yo-yo.
Right, no, I get you.
It could be Dungey sitting next to you, but if you believe that that's Dungey and you fear that guy, well, how are you ever going to compete with him?
Right, you already lost before the gate dropped.
Right, yep.
And you know, the great Kid Rock once said, it's not cocky if you can back it up.
Right on.
So I agree with you, and Ken Roczen was doing a great job. You know, I think he came into this series ready to go to war, battle. It didn't matter who was out there. He knew that he was the best rider on the track, and he knew that he was going to win day in and day out. Now, a little mistake at Anaheim 2. Let's talk about this section a little bit, Damian. As he comes in, you know, there was two options. So it was a rhythm section where you can come in, you could actually single onto the table, jump over, and that's what Roczen was doing instead of jumping over the table and trying to avoid the ruts. To what my opinion is, and what I think happened, so when he came off the table, it looks like he over-jumped a little bit into the landing, which compressed his front fork and also the back shock, pushed it all the way through the stroke, and as he came up, it looked like it blew his feet off the bike, literally ejecting him like out of an F-16 jet before he smashed into the ground.
Right.
He should have had a parachute, is what he should have had.
Absolutely. And there's been several different analyses to that, and people have argued about it. And I'll tell you something, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
As a rider, I know what it's like to go through a rhythm section and one time over jump a little bit into the face of the next one. When you get the little bit of the kick, it's completely uncontrolled. You know what I mean? It's just like you are flying with the bike, but the bike shoots you a little bit further. You know, and that's what he did.
It 100%, and your feet aren't grabbing the sides of it, like, because everything just mentally went out the window.
Right.
You know, especially if you're in
absolutely
a flow like Ken Roczen was, where everything was just clicking, 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 and you make one little mistake that you're not expecting to make a mistake there. I mean, it was just, you know, disaster.
Well, you know, when you go through rhythm sections like that, when they're all rutted, most riders will actually, a lot of them will come up just a little bit short so they can set up for the next section a little bit better.
Okay.
Because when you over jump or just downside it perfectly, when it's all rutted, a lot of times it's tricky to be right exactly where you want to be. If you come up a little bit short, you can actually adjust right before you go into the belly between the rhythm.
Makes sense.
So if you jump into the face, you don't have a chance to do any of that.
You're screwed.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, makes sense. So out for the season, you know, I mean, I guess we talked in a few shows back about who we thought the title contender was going to be. Rox's name came up quite a few times. I guess Dungey's got this thing locked and loaded now, unless you know, a crazy mistake happens. But if I'm a betting man, which I am, my money's on Dungey right now. Do you see anybody else coming up through the pack?
I have a feeling that I think Musquin is going to step up this year a little bit. Yeah, because I think he's one of those guys that he's won in the past. He's won world titles, he's won supercrosses, he's won nationals, he's won it all. So he's one of those guys where I feel that he just continues to get a little bit better. And now that he trains with Dungey, well, I shouldn't say now because he's been training, but that he trains with him, I think that actually gives Musquin an edge more than it does give Dungey anything. You know, because Dungey's out there doing his plan, his program, and it works. But Musquin sees what he does every day. So he can figure a little bit the way to step it up. You know, and I believe that he will. And I honestly think that Tomac is going to figure it out and be in there for some battles. But I don't think he's going to be there in the battles for the end, only because his consistency, you know. So
since we brought Tomac up, and, you know, Tomac...
You got the Kawasaki shirt. So.
And I'm a Kawasaki guy. Everybody knows I love Kawasaki's. There's something going on with Tomac.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas? Do you, you know, from your past riding career... I mean, you've been in these kind of situations. What do you think? What could it be?
I personally believe that he may actually be overtrained. And I think I heard JT say something about that in an article I read somewhere. And I could be wrong about who it was, but I think it was him. And I think that overtraining gets you burned out. You become burnt out a little bit. So now it's not, I want to go win everything. It's, I got to get through this night.
Right.
I believe there's a difference there of getting through a night or through a big event where there's a lot going on, you know, your professionalism, the race side of it, you know, dieting properly, everything, to I want to get everything out of tonight. So then doing everything perfect is easier.
Right.
You know, I believe that might be what's going on. I don't believe that his bike's an issue. I believe his bike's as good as anybody's out there.
I mean, I agree. I look what Ryan Villapoto did on it. Obviously, the bike has changed and progressed over the years.
Sure.
But, I mean, if the bike is that big of a problem, Kawasaki can go back in and grab, a 2013 or 14 bike. Mm-hmm. What was Villapoto, 14, I think, right? 13 for sure.
Yeah, 13.
So, grab one of those bikes that was just flawless out there. Mm-hmm. Now, they got completely different riding styles, and I know that, but they can get it set up for them. But, I said here on our show a few weeks ago, the symptoms at A1, right after A1, I called it. It looks to me like Epstein-Barr,
Oh.
So you just said overtrained a little bit. So what happens when you overtrain and overwork yourself?
Yeah. Viruses develop, sure. Well, you just brought up A1.
Yeah.
Well, he won his heat and was whole shotting and riding phenomenal, pulling out times. So, to me, how could anyone ever argue that it's the bike? Wasn't he the fastest in San Diego?
He had one of the fastest qualifying times,
right.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that means if you can do it one lap, I don't care what race you are, that means you can do it for 20 unless you're not in shape.
Yeah.
And I know he's in shape.
Yeah, and I don't think he's blaming the bike. After Anaheim won, he came out and he said arm pump or whatever, the team released. But
see, arm pump is usually at that level, nothing to do with physical stuff. It's your mental state. So if you're a little bit burned out, think about where your mental state is. Oh, I got to get through this night.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it. Something's got to change for him. I mean, a guy that's paid that kind of money, he's got that kind of pressure on him, something definitely has to change for Eli Tomac, and we can only hope it changes soon, especially for us as fans with the series coming down. I mean, Dungey could run away with this thing very easily if somebody like Musquin doesn't step up or, Cooper Webb can't figure it out, Eli Tomac or, Cole Seeley. What a great ride by Cole Seeley, running up there, finished third on the podium in Anaheim too. But somebody's got to figure this out, make this series interesting for us. I mean, I'm a fan of motocross, so supercross, I'll be watching no matter what. But for the sport in general, we need these battles. We need these, controversies, these rivals and stuff going on. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, it brings in outside fans.
That's what
the regular motocrosser, he just wants to see a great ride. And everyone wants to see a little bit of a battle or drama, but definitely the non-motocross fan, the traditional one, the drama is going to be like, oh, I want to be there and see that, So that's an unfortunate thing, I think, for extreme sports. It's kind of like the NASCAR fan that never watches anything, but he wants to watch that wreck.
That's it. Well, most NASCAR fans don't even know what the car is doing anyways. It just goes left.
No opinion there.
I got plenty of them.
Something I was going to bring up, and when you're talking about riders, and I kind of forgot about him for a minute, but I was very impressed for Weston Pike's ride.
Yeah.
And now this is interesting. I don't think Weston has the talent or the background of some of these guys like Dungey's, Seeley's, and everything. But I'll tell you something. He's got a drive, I believe, that because he came into it later, had no support growing up, things like this. I believe that drive could actually take him further at times than a guy that I use this word loosely, but has been pampered, especially from an early age. So I see him to maybe capitalize on that top 5 and move up. Now, I don't see him battling with Dungey for the championship. But per race, I see, that dude gets a whole shot and bangs bars, let's say a guy like Musquin, and gets a little fire in the belly because Musquin maybe stuffed him or Jason Anderson stuffed him. I see him going 20 laps or 22 possibly now with the new timing system harder than any of them. So
without giving up.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But he's not going to settle for a third when he sees I can win.
Nope. And so podiums by the end of the year. I could for sure see him podium by the end of the year. Looks like that Suzuki on the JGR is turning out to be working really well for him.
Absolutely.
Barsha, I think we got coming back in about 2 or 3 weeks. So that should be throw another mix into the pile. I don't know exactly what Barsha's going to be doing. I don't think anybody knows what Barsha's going to do when he comes back. But probably a top 10 for now and gets back into the race pace.
His results in Europe, I know everybody was questioning. Like they were thinking he should have done a lot better because of the way he was sounding so positive on the bike. So
yeah,
and I wish him the best. I'm not a biased fan toward anybody. I just love the sport. I love to see people do well, and like we spoke earlier, I hate to see things like Ken Roczen.
Oh, it
you know,
sucks, yeah.
just because I pictured myself in that position, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. What about Malcolm Stewart coming back?
Malcolm Stewart, you know, interesting case. I heard all the stories that he talked about coming up to it, of how challenging it was and all this stuff. And me being a guy that have rode for factory teams, but wasn't the factory rider coming, you know, into the pro ranks as a 17-year-old. I rode years as privateer, you know, small teams that did have salaries. I listened to all that, and I kind of thought, wah, wah, wah. You know, I really did.
Yeah.
Because I'm like thinking, look at the resources and the phenomenal talent, all this there, and then what are we talking about? The challenges of getting to Anaheim or getting to California with my Sprinter van or whatever combination it was. To me, I'm like, okay, yes, the glam and the glitz is great for the sport to bring it up, but honestly, that has nothing to do with making a better rider on the track, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. And I'm a fan of Malcolm and James Stewart. I love their riding style, their riding ability, their talent, their skill, you know. But there has to be something to be said, just like you said. They have every resource. I mean, you know, he called a dealership that his friend, or they sponsor their kid. That's how he got the Suzukis. They sponsor this kid with 7 gear. His dad owns a dealership. They called that. That's how he got the bikes. You tell me Malcolm Stewart can't walk into any damn dealership in the state of Florida and say, hey, hook me up on a great deal on 2 RMZ or whatever, 450s, 4 of them, pay a couple $1,000s out the door, and, you know, they could have did it. And check out Dean Wilson. You know, Dean Wilson did that. Dean Wilson's in a Sprinter van. You know, he's getting help from Yamaha now, but that's because he was out there grinding away, putting in laps at the test track, week in, week out, you know, getting ready for Anaheim 1 before Anaheim 1 even came, not trying to get ready for Anaheim 1 after Anaheim 1 came, which I think the Stewarts fall into that category. Now, it is cool to see Ride 365 step up and help out the James Stewart. And I will tell you that I believe, my opinion again, that Ride 365 and that 7 trailer is the sickest looking rig out there.
Oh, right.
I love it. I mean, the color scheme, the way they designed it, they did a really damn good job at it. So, you know, Mookie put in some great rides in the heat, you know. Qualified out of the heat and then was actually running top 10 in the mains for a while. He went down in the whoops section. And, you know, he said in some interviews and stuff that once he got back up, he said, I was tired. You know, I knew I was out of it, so he just rode back. But he actually rode back to an 18th place. So not bad for his first race back. I mean, I know he probably wouldn't be top 10.
Right.
Dean Wilson, top 11 out of the Sprinter van with his dad, you know.
Yeah. And, you know, just to add a little bit to the Mookie story is I've seen a lot of riders, and I never made it to quite that level. I mean, I was making 450 mains, but, you know, I never made a top 10 or anything in a 450 main, you know. Interesting enough, my best Supercross rides were all in Europe for some reason. I can't figure out why that was. But either way, I was always considered a national guy. Until literally I was almost 30 years old and went to arena cross. But what I was getting at is there was a point that I got to where there was just things that was common. You know what I mean? Like just the strangest things. You know, you had people that supported you to get the bike right. You had the tire guy over here that followed you around and said, okay, you need this or that. This is bad. You didn't worry about it. So when you're on your own, what you said earlier about going to a dealership and getting a bike, if he did that, the whole support group would have been possibly from that dealership, people we didn't know. So I understand why some guys wouldn't go that route, because they would think that they were going to go to the event way, way under the bar. Where let's say they went to a dealer and just bought the bike and kept their own group of people and said, we need this. Everybody knew what he needed. It made him feel a little more comfortable. And right now, I think that there's at least 4 riders on the pro circuit that are doing it that way. They don't even want help from the dealer or other companies, because they want the freedom to do what works for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And somebody will hook you up with a good deal. I mean, I know I get good deals on my bikes.
Sure, yeah.
So that shouldn't be the case at all.
I meant all free.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm with you. Anybody else stand out on these results to you? Cooper Webb finally coming in top 5 there. You know, 4th
that to
place.
me wasn't a surprise. I expected it all along, but you can see, I believe he's riding really tight. And it's interesting, I saw Ryan Hughes said that he rides on the heel of his boot a lot, not on the balls of his feet, and he goes he could get away from that, or away with that on 250s but not 450s. I agree with that a little bit, but it's funny. You see when he does, if you follow him around the track, and there were some points, because after I read that from Ryan Hughes, I was like, I got to check into this. So I kind of watched it, and I was like, well, he has a good point, but there was points where Cooper Webb was on the balls of his feet, riding phenomenal, position-wise.
Right.
I believe it's just tight.
Yeah.
He's being nervous. You know, I mean, he is nervous. He's new to the class, and now he's got people that are riding way more aggressive than they did when the 250 class. He could come up on guys in the 250 class, and they might have moved over because they knew who was behind them.
Right.
These guys aren't going to move over.
No.
Yeah, so.
A little panic rev in the 250 class, and everybody splits like cockroaches when the light comes on, right?
Yeah.
The Yamaha team actually said that they didn't make any changes. Cooper said, you know, it was mental. It was him.
Right.
He's the one that made the change. He's the one that developed how to, you know, ride loose. And he just went out there and rode the track and had fun and did what he had to do. And the results paid off, coming back to a nice solid 4th place. And then again, you mentioned Weston Pike. 6th place, we got 33 of Josh Grant. And then Chad Reed putting in a solid ride for the 22 right there in 7th place. I know he's not happy with that, but I think it's pretty good, you know?
It is good. It's good. I had such a unique career myself, age-wise.
Right.
I don't think his age has anything to do with anything. I think he's probably in one of the best shapes he's in his life. He's in a good place family-wise. He's in a good place with his sponsors. You know, so I think he's just out there getting it. I think, honestly, he's probably way more upset than anyone even knows about, because I think he's telling himself, why am I not top 3 in the first turn battling with these guys? And he's one of those guys, he might not go all the way to the championship because of little inconsistencies for whatever reason. But I believe if he does get a top 3 in a start, he's going to match Dungey, Seeley, any of those guys' pace all the way, and then maybe even step up further toward the end.
You know it, because he's got that mentality.
Yeah.
He's got it.
Yeah,
so we'll wrap something up with the 450 class.
Sure.
A big controversy that's been going on. the brawl. So, you know, it's either fight or flight in Anaheim too. Kenny took the flight one. It didn't come out so well. Jason Anderson took the fight one, and it didn't work out so well for him.
Right.
Freezy, doing Freezy shit.
Right.
Whether it was a clean move, whether it was a dirty move, I don't care. But it seems like he always does the same exact thing.
Yeah.
What do you think of the suspension, not suspension, the DQ of Anderson, and the whole thing with Vincent Freeze, or with Freezy and Anderson?
I think 2 major points. One, I feel it's so unfortunate for Anderson, because if you saw him the week before, he came to that press conference talking like Roxon. He's like, I'm ready to win. I can do these lap times. My bikes are strong. And I was excited to see that. So it was such an unfortunate, just a terrible incident that went on. Now on the Freezy part of it, his specific move that he did there was a little bit wider than he should have been. Probably. Especially at the caliber of rider I feel he is. So here's the biggest point that I want to leave with Freezy is he has a lot of heart. He's a great starter, but he's not at that level. And it bothers me to see someone slow the pace down just because they're thinking they're getting one more spot. I don't like that. I had guys like that growing up that never made it pro, but boy, I could go to a local race, couldn't beat these guys. I'd lap them in a national.
Right.
And that's how bad it was. And this guy reminds me of that person, because he's slowing the pace down. Whatever I can do to block this guy behind me. You know what I mean? And I don't like that. I want to see a guy that wants to actually race and use his talent and his work to get forward.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I have a little different opinion as I watched this multiple times again.
Sure.
So I heard, you know, there's some people that said what Freeze did was clean. You know, he went in and he stopped and he pivoted. Jason Anderson's the one that cut down. I agree 100%. But looking at, you know, racing forward, what was Freezy thinking he was going to do? He wasn't intentionally trying to take Jason Anderson out.
Right.
No, he was aiming for Malcolm Stewart,
right,
who was 3 feet past him. So he was literally going to T-bone him. That's the problem I'm having with the whole situation. If he didn't connect with Anderson it was going to be bad news not only for the three that went down, or, Anderson and Muskin that went down. Freezy wasn't going to ride out of that, but then you're going to tie up Malcolm Stewart, and you're going to have this whole cluster again, rewind to 1 year ago.
Right.
He does the same exact thing, and unfortunately Weston Pike, a better rider than he is a fighter, because first thing I learned when I started fighting is you never hit somebody in something that's got a helmet on. You go straight to the gut. Maybe Weston Pike did the guy a favor and he didn't kill him. But, Anaheim, 1 year later, the same situation happens. I mean, I think something's got to happen. Either, hey, if we're going to let him ride like that, I'm cool with it. Let everybody do it. But don't DQ Anderson. Put an octagon in the middle of the damn track and let him go out there and brawl in half, whatever.
No, I agree. I think the DQ, I believe dealing with the AMA and all the governing bodies of the sport for many years of my life, I'm 42 years old now, so I've been around it for a long time. They've made odd decisions over the years, and most of them were made split second. We need to do something.
Right.
So was that something right or wrong? Would they ever change it? Would they ever say it was right or wrong? Never happened. They just made it. So there was always a losing end. Unfortunately, this time it was Anderson. And a minute ago, I said about him riding wide that I didn't like it.
Right.
I didn't mean the crash.
Right.
I meant the whole
time.
Several laps before it.
Yep.
It was just terrible. There was three guys trying to move forward. The lap times went down by like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, because he was a roadblock. And when you're racing like that, you roadblock, I believe, maybe on the last lap of the main event. Because you want to win, and this guy's right behind you.
Right, or trying to get into the LCQ
or
whatever.
3 laps in. That's right.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And that's what I don't like. Why do we need to have any kind of concept of slowing the pace down? That just doesn't belong in racing. It belongs, like you said, the last lap of the LCQ, or maybe last two, or the last lap of the main when you're fighting everything with somebody.
To bring a paycheck home.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's an unfortunate thing. And, I don't know the guy personally, but maybe he lives like that in life. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm moving forward.
Yeah, me too. We could talk about this all day long. You guys make your own opinion on it. Stay tuned. We got a lot more to talk about. We got 250s coming up. We got a lot more stuff to talk about. We're going to talk all about Damian Plotz in studio with us. But right now, join us for this quick commercial.
It looks like you're doing great at the track. Are you surprised? Well, that's okay. You may not have seen us, but we definitely saw you. When you're done racing at the track, go online to bigdealphotos.com for pictures, t-shirts, and more.
All right, welcome back. We hope you guys enjoyed that wonderful commercial there. Well, we wrapped up things with the 450 class. We got to talk about some action that happened down in the 250 class. Did you lose your 250? What happened?
Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Got it for you.
Right on.
On the fly, like that.
I feel official.
Oh, we are official. All right, so...
Will I have homework after this?
Maybe.
Okay, just making sure.
Depends on how you did in training today. Everything revolves around training, right?
Right on.
All right, so 250 class. Another shakedown at Anaheim, too, with Justin Hill coming out and finally getting a win here in the 2017 series. So he comes out, Anaheim 2, puts in a really solid ride, has pressure pretty much the whole race with AP, Aaron Plessinger, behind him. He's able to open up the gap at about the last 2/3 of the race to 5-6 seconds. So, I mean, he was really in his zone, comfortable riding. What'd you think of Justin Hill coming back to the Pro Circuit ride and then getting this win?
Very interesting position that Justin Hill.
Yes, it is.
Because he was starting to like fall off the map a little bit. Things weren't going quite right, and I've seen a lot of riders that happen, and they never bounce back. So I'm hats off to Justin Hill, because that's awesome. Coming down, injury, figuring out your rides and then getting it all back and coming out with a win. I thought he was going to win earlier. I thought he was going to win San Diego possibly. He was riding phenomenal. Coming into Anaheim too here, it's interesting, Aaron Plessinger came from behind every race.
Yep.
So it was so interesting to see them two come out. And I thought, wow, Aaron, I thought may dig in and pass Justin, but it was awesome, to see how that race developed. And I was kind of surprised. It looked like Aaron faded a little bit. I didn't think that Justin just walked away from him. It looked like Aaron faded just a bit. And that really surprised me, because up till this point, I don't think anyone's ever seen Aaron fade. He's always been moving forward all the way to the end. So,
do you think it was a case of Aaron fading or settling? Because I seen the same exact thing, and here's what I kind of gathered from it. He wasn't making up a whole lot of ground on Justin up front, and McElrath, who was right behind him, wasn't really catching him.
Right, they were just pacing each
per se.
other.
So I think more so, to me, it looked like he kind of settled in that second position, which is, from a racer standpoint, never. I mean, you should charge all the way in. You never know when Justin Hill is going to make that little mistake that's going to give you that edge to catch up or run the inside. Convince Friesman and cut across the track and take him out.
Right.
But you never know.
One thing I would say to that would surprise me that happened more than he just got, meaning he got beat.
Right.
Justin had such a great pace going, but he was starting to fade because I think he wanted to push a little bit harder. And he would try to, but he couldn't. But here's what's interesting to me is if he settled in, he's not like leading the points.
Right.
You know what I mean? Is he sitting at second? I'm sure his goal is not to be second. So it would surprise me to settle in, knowing that here's my chance. If I'm in great shape, like it looked like all the other rounds, take advantage of it.
I agree, and that's what he needed to do. He definitely could have used a win right there. I mean, points, confidence, the whole 9 yards. He definitely could have used a win, but
Justin showed that. He was behind in points, and it didn't matter who was behind him. He pushed. That last lap, man, nobody was right close to him, but he was pushing until the last turn. Then you seen him kind of go, oh yeah. And then he was like,
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, I'm sure that was not only that sigh of relief of winning, but that sigh of relief of accomplishment and, showing everybody the world that he can still do it.
Do it, yeah.
I mean, hell, we haven't seen him race in a long time.
I know, yeah.
So, great racing. There wasn't a whole lot of bar banging action that happened like it did in the 450 class. But Shane McElrath, what do you take of this young kid, Shane McElrath?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody, I don't think, and we've talked about this multiple times on our shows before, nobody expected him to come out and be a title contender.
Mm-hmm.
A1, he wins. Comes out in San Diego, backs it up, says, I'm here to play. And then doesn't have a great night, but he's in third place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, consistency
Absolutely.
pays off. We know that. As we talked about in the 450 class. Where did this Shane McElrath, we know where he came from, but where did this rider that Shane McElrath came from?
Two things I would think. I watched him a little bit, and he was one of those riders that I actually don't know, like we don't know each other face to face.
Right.
But I love a couple things about him. One, that he wears his faith on his sleeve, and I love that. Wearing the Motocross for Christ hat, I'm a representative of them, and I love that. I think that's awesome.
Right on.
Secondly is, look at the end of last year and look at the straight rhythm. Shane was aggressive, and you could see he was moving forward. He did not want anything to end, meaning he was like, please bring it on. Can we have more?
Right.
And I think it was awesome that I think on the off season, he took all that was building up and kept it going somehow, which is challenging to do when you're not racing day in, day out. And he came to A1, he was ready for that. And that was really cool to see, because a lot of guys aren't at A1 doing that. They're feeling it out. I want to get through what Carmichael used to say every year. Let me just get through the first 5 rounds of the West Coast,
Right,
and then the championship starts. Remember you say that?
Absolutely.
And most riders like that. Shane was like, now he's riding the Lights West, obviously. It's a little different setup, but...
If he waited till the first 5 rounds...
That's right. He's going to be done. Right.
He would have been out.
But it was interesting to see him come in with the aggression he had at the straight rhythm and the last couple races last year. He kept that flow even though there was a big break there. So that's what I bring, what I see of it,
Yeah. He wasn't at Mexico drinking beer all summer long. He was putting in the grind, right?
Who was that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. We won't say any names. I wish it was me, though. So, Shane McElrath put in a solid ride. Austin Faulkner, 4th place. I think for a rookie, I think that's really phenomenal. I know that's not where he wants to be. Marty Davalos in 5th place. What do you think of Marty?
The darn controversy around him right now of being in there forever and retiring at 50 in the 250 class. I heard all this stuff. I don't follow it. I don't like it. You know what I mean? I get it. He should be moving up, give a space to another rider coming up. But motocross is a small sport.
Yeah.
It really is. Careers aren't long, and there's not a lot of money out there. So you know what? If he's getting paid, he's making it happen. I'm not going to be the guy to beat him down about it, you know? Because everyone that I've ever met that has beat him down, they would love to be right where he's at.
Oh, 100%. The guy is amazing.
Yeah.
Every time I see it, though, it just reminds me of the 30-year-old still in 5th grade kind of.
I gotcha.
Kind of thing, and you gotta laugh, and you know.
I laugh, but you know what? I turn the page.
And I expect him to be better than that. I mean,
well, you're right. It's time to win.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. He's one of those plateau riders. And there's a lot of them out there. We just talked about it at dinner. There's a ton of plateau riders that got to a certain point and nothing else ever happens. And it's unfortunate, you know? Yeah, so, and why that is, I'm not an expert to say why that is, because I'm not 100% sure.
Right, no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Can I elaborate on Faulkner?
Absolutely, please do.
Faulkner, I'm a little surprised by that he's not battling for the win.
I would venture to say that he probably has the same feeling you do, but continue on.
Well, I'm sure he does. But I'm really surprised because I watched that kid last year. I watched him in some arena cross races when he just did a couple there. And I saw his starting capability and his aggression. And it was like, I believe it was hard to match the kid's speed. And then I saw what he was doing all season. And to come in, it looks like he's under the bar with the speed. He looks like he's way behind the bar with his starts. And who knows how his fitness is. I think he's fit, but it's been hard to see because of the drama that's been going on. So those two things alone really surprised me.
Yeah.
You know?
I was actually at all his arena cross races. So I seen firsthand that he was doing. And he was, you know, untouchable in most of them.
Yeah.
You know, winning his heat races, winning the mains, winning both mains. He was a different rider out there, you know, coming in and putting in 2 people, Jace Owens and all the top riders out there. Right. So I think, you know, they said they made a lot of changes to the bike this week, help him out in his whoops. They stiffened up his suspension.
Right.
So, again, theory, maybe when he went to the arena cross races, he had that support with the people on the bike that were really comfortable. And that arena cross, they got that bike dialed in, and they didn't have it quite ready. I can't imagine that Pro Circuit didn't have that bike quite ready for him. But obviously there's something wasn't right. If they're still making changes, and it looked like he was a little better, you know, 4th place. Now, he's aggressive. I like it. Yeah. You know, what I like about him is he doesn't roll over. When somebody comes by him, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if you're 6'4" Aaron Plessinger or you're, you know, whoever. Yeah. You want to bang bars with him, he's coming out swinging with you. So I think once he does get that mental game figured out, his bike dialed in, he's a contender. I picked him 4 shows ago to win the title. And I mean, I guess I look dumb now, but that just happens.
I may have done the same thing.
All right. Well,
I wasn't here 4 shows ago, but I'm.
All right. Well, at least you're saying we both look dumb.
Yeah. And we both like Kawasaki.
Yeah, we do. That's a good thing to be. How about Kyle Chisholm and Phil Nicoletti?
Old Phil, man. He's an old buddy of mine from the Northeast. Yeah. Phil Nicoletti, interesting. I was a 29, 30-year-old racing nationals, supercrosses, arena cross, doing pretty good. Some privateers, some factory support. This little guy come up like 15 years old, go to like a money race, we used to call them, you know. And I'm like, who's this little cocky punk think he is pushing me around? And he was fast. And I love Phil. I think he's a great guy. His family was awesome. I would really like to see Phil put it together. You know what I mean? He seems to always have some little issue, and I can't figure it out because I saw him racing coming up through the ranks, and he didn't seem to have those issues.
Right.
Now, I know amateur racing is different than pro.
Right.
But still, a lot of people, you can see where they came from and how they've got to this point. Where Phil, it looked like it was the opposite. Like you could see him going somewhere, and then somewhere in here, something changed. And I don't know what that change is. You know, but he's made a great career. You know, and his team, I think, is probably phenomenal for him.
Oh yeah, I feel like the black cat walked in front of him because a lot of times it's just bad luck.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if you follow on Instagram, follow him or the Bad News Phil.
Oh,
but it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
He definitely bad luck.
And who'd you bring up? Chisholm.
Kyle
Chisholm, you know, veteran.
Dropping from the 450
I raced
class.
him also. You know? My last year was 08. I raced a little bit in 09, but nothing pro. And I raced Kyle a lot. You know, he used to come up to our area, me being a Northeastern guy, our biggest race of the year locally was the Kawasaki Race Champions, Englishtown.
Okay.
You're probably familiar with that.
Oh, yeah.
And he came up from Florida one year, and we had a heck of a battle for two 30-minute motos. So, you know, he was on my radar immediately then. You know, he was another young kid coming up through. So.
Yeah.
But he's one of those plateau riders I'm feeling. It's an unfortunate thing, and when I say that, it's not a dig on any of the riders, but they've gone for so long, and it's kind of like we've gotten to where we're going to go, and it's never going to get better. If anything, the new crop of riders each year just makes their life more challenging. You know what I'm saying?
I agree, and here's my conflict I have with this, and you know, the dropping back to the classes or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a top 11 rider in the country. He's got a national number 11, right? You know, so you drop back down to the 250 class and you run 11th place. Like, are you doing yourself a favor?
Right. Well, and here it is again. I'll go back to what I said about Davlos. Small sport, not a lot of money, not a lot of support.
Right.
Where you can get it, you kind of follow that.
Yeah, but you got to think, a 450
I bet you
is cheaper to ride, you know.
But I don't believe this is his decision. That's what I'm getting at. It would really surprise me if I went and he walked in here today, man, I wanted to be a 250 rider.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know.
That would really surprise me.
I know he didn't have a ride, and Moto Concept stepped up, and that's who he's riding for, but, I mean.
I don't think Phil wanted to ride the 250s, did he?
Yeah,
he
did.
That? Was he excited about it?
Yeah, he was.
Something a little different.
Yeah, not being a fill-in rider. So, yeah, he was stoked about it. You know, it is what it is, and I guess everybody has their own agenda at the end of the day. To me, it's just a little shocking that some of these decisions are made. You know, again, can you go out, can you get a bike, and can you get in the back of your truck? Is it going to cost money? Is it going to take heart and determination? Is it even worth it at that point? Hell, I don't know. Yeah. But, I mean, I guess maybe if you're getting a salary and somebody's paying you to ride in 11th place, then so be it. So.
And you nailed it right there. What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know?
Go bag groceries or something.
Let me tell you something. I raced till I was 32 years old, and that's like really old school compared to some of these people. Mm-hmm. You know, they think their career's done if they're 24 and they don't have a factory ride. Well, those were some of the best years of my life, you know, and I wouldn't turn it, you know, I wouldn't change it. And I feel blessed that I was able to do it that long. So
nice. Well, I don't see anything else really that stands out.
Jay Martin?
Oh, yeah, J Mart. Well, I said that stands out. I don't see anybody that stands out. Do you?
I'm curious to know your J Mart story. Because that's another pretty confusing topic.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Starts.
Starts is, you got to be key on starts.
Yeah, at least be close.
Yeah.
Yeah, not come out 10th, 11th, whatever, and even in a heat race.
What I'm confused at is, you know, part of the decision to put him on the West Coast was because he was the fastest on the test tracks, that he was ready. They wanted to put him out there as soon as possible.
Oh, wow. Interesting. I didn't even know
and
that. But.
So now you get that out there, and it's, I mean, he's struggling to make top 10 this week.
Yeah, 10th place. You're
10th place. So could Christian Craig do better? I mean, Christian Craig was putting in some solid rides last year.
With stiff competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, battling out with Cooper.
Right.
Geico Honda coming off from rides with Christian Craig like that, from an East Coast title with Malcolm Stewart, to now they have Jeremy Martin, who put in a top 10, and now I think Jeremy Martin went down, if I recall right, in Anaheim too, but nonetheless, he hasn't had solid results.
Right. He hasn't been battling for a lead.
No.
At all.
No.
Yeah.
He's battling to stay in whatever position he's in.
I don't even think he's battled for a lead in a heat race, as far as I remember.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Is it confidence? Is it bike? Do you see anything? I don't. I look at it. Don't understand.
Look at Jeremy's past couple years, though.
He's not a Supercross guy.
I was just going to say that. He has an abundant amount of confidence in outdoors, and you know what? He's always seems to be fit, and he figures tracks out. He reads tracks well. Well, in Supercross, you can't read the track. You got to know it right now.
Right.
Now, you can when you're in a 22-lap main event, but in a quick heat race or something else, you can't do it. And here's another thing. If he is much faster than all these other people, like you'd mentioned earlier on the Honda track, and let's say you're in 11th place off the start, then you got 10 guys in front of you that are either way slower than you or they're in a serious battle with everyone else. Your chances of negative things happen go up, 100-fold?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have an answer on Jeremy Martin.
I'm sure he's in probably not the best places right now.
No.
Mentally and everything, going like, what is going on? So
yeah, they'll figure it out. I mean, for sure by outdoors. I'd like to see Tyler Bowers. Tyler Bowers got in 8th place. I'd like to see him do a little better. I think he's got more potential in there. Last year, again, he was battling up front. He was sick and battling up front. Now he's kind of dropped back. So
how about Hansen? Talk about veterans and moving down and up and over,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting story.
It's
funny, Hansen, I thought may actually bust out some hole shots.
Yeah.
And race with the leaders, but then fade. But I was surprised I hadn't seen that happen yet.
He tried last week. He just hit the gate.
That's right. Good point.
Yeah, he started to, but he went before everybody else. He was going for the whole shot.
Well, that's right, because Emig blamed J-Mart's start on him, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right, I forgot about that, yeah.
And I don't know about you, but...
I know, that's tricky. Somebody moves, you're like, but...
but for me, I consider myself a really good starter.
Right.
I focus on the gate. Like, once I'm in that zone, I don't care what happens next to me. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the pin and the pin only, and when that pin goes, I'm going. So
you're a rarity.
Yes.
You are.
But that's how I do.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I've ever hit the gate that I can remember as a pro, and if I did, it was always because somebody did something. Like somebody totally moved or whatever.
I mean, honestly, I did hit it last year at Arena Cross. My clutch was going out, going up to the line. I was on the front row.
Hey, you know what? I know a great motocross coach that will teach you a better starting technique other than looking at the gate. We'll talk about that later.
I'm down with it. But my clutch was burning out, and I'm waiting for the gate to drop, and it's not dropping. It's all the way in, and it's rolling.
Right.
And I rolled right under it before it ever even dropped. I couldn't do anything about it, but it's all
Did your
good.
front brake work?
Yeah, but it was going to stall. So
It was going to stall.
I tried. So, oh, Lordy. All right, well, I think it was the 250 class. I don't see anything else here that we need to talk about.
Nothing else here?
No. Get out of here. Look at that.
You just won't leave.
No, we got more to talk about.
Right?
We got more to talk about. We got some good stuff coming up. We got to talk about you. So we know a little bit about you. You're a pro rider, a former pro rider.
Yeah.
Yep. So walk us through your career, man. How did you get started in motocross? What did you do?
You want me to go way back?
Well, I mean,
I can keep it
you're
a little
not
bit
that
short.
old, so it's not
Well,
going
when
way
you said
back.
started, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I'm 42 years old, so I feel pretty darn old, I mean, like I said a minute ago, 24-year-olds are wanting to hang it up because they think their career's done, which to me, I think that's nuts, and I bet you Chad Reed would agree with me.
But hey, on the bright side, you're 14 years younger than somebody that's 56 years old.
Perfect.
So...
That's awesome.
Oh, my executive producer is back there probably yelling at me right now. I give him the middle finger. It's awesome.
He'll be good if the only thing thrown at him is paper. Well, anyways, going back to me, I mean, it was the family. My dad raced a little bit, not a whole lot. He raced the Bull Taka. which is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
I actually tried to get his bike that he raced, and that didn't work out, but I always thought that'd be so cool to have, hanging on the wall or something neat like that. I raced BMX when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. Started racing motocross when I was 8. And by the time I was 10, 11-ish, we were already going to Loretta's, traveling, doing all that. And we're talking back in the 1980s.
Yeah.
But I was one of the top competitors back then. Competition I had was guys like Ezra Lusk and Jeff DeMint, and these were guys winning my class, and I was kind of knocking on the door, sometimes beating them, sometimes not, But I ended up winning Loretta's as an A rider when I was 17 and turned pro right after that.
Nice.
But I had something interesting happen in my career a lot of people don't know. But when I turned pro at 17 years old, I only raced pro for a year and a half. And then I had a major injury when I was 19. I broke my kneecap. Ironically, in an arena cross race. Like the first one I ever really rode, got pushed into the wall, and they had nothing on the walls and hit the concrete wall. So at the time, I was really focused on wanting to have a pro career, and things were starting to happen, but I was injured a lot that first year, and I got some national points. My first national that I ever rode right after Loretta's, and my first year I only rode like 3 nationals because of injuries, but got points. But both years I never got a number because I had not quite enough points to get the number. But that was a huge accomplishment. Well, then I broke my kneecap, and I got a phone call from my father. I'm in the hospital because he didn't go to this particular race, which was odd because he went everywhere with me. And I told him what happened. I said, the doctor says this is like a 6-month injury. There was like 9 pieces of my kneecap. They had to wire together, and it was a full disaster. I was thinking the world ended right then and there. And which a lot of motocrossers feel at that age when things happen, unfortunately. It's just, it's a bad place to be. My dad says to me, now, my mom and dad got divorced, so it was single father, trying to support his son, traveling all over the place, swiping credit cards everywhere he went. I don't know anything about credit cards, nothing about debt at this time in my life. I mean, I'm 19, but I'm kind of like, whatever, Dad's doing it.
Right.
My dad calls me and says, Damien, he says, Suzuki just basically pulled out the support ride that you were supposed to get the next year. Like, I mean, we went from maybe getting everything for free, no flying to the races and a salary, but we were like, we needed that.
Right.
I didn't get nothing after the kneecap injury. Nothing at all, because it happened in November. And that's kind of, back then is when they were starting to do stuff more on the pro-am level, not the total pro level. My dad says, well, I'm 46 or whatever $1,000 in debt. And he goes, I can't even go buy you a clutch lever next year, let alone a bike. So here I am, a 19-year-old kid, growing up now, bickering with my dad of how to do things, because he still thinks I'm 14 and you got to do everything this way. And now he's telling me he's in debt, he can't buy anything. Well, I don't have any money of my own other than I was making money racing, but not a lot at that time. So I literally quit. I went home and we got rid of everything. I told my dad, I said, hey, I know someone in a courier business, I'm going to try it out. Well, what happened was, is I went and kind of got in business with a friend of mine, and he was so wonderful to me to help me out and get me started in that. I started making money of my own, and I was always such a fan of competition and being in shape that I started mountain bike racing a year later. Okay. So I full-on raced cross-country mountain bike for 3 years, a little bit of downhill. Next thing you know, I'm 23 years old. I'm in the best shape of my life. Hadn't rode a dirt bike since I was 19 at all. Right. I mean, nothing. Got rid of everything. And I went with my own money, bought a KTM 125 in 1998 after being out of the sport for almost 4 years. 24 years old. And I said, you know what? I made all these goals, and I had my own money. I had a good support group, and I said, you know what? I'm going to make this on my own. And when I tell racers this nowadays that are younger, they're like, nobody would ever do that at 24. So I got some support, rode some races, did well in 98, kind of stayed low. Right. Went to the mini Olympics, won almost everything down there. Went to Loretta's the next year in the pro sport class and won. And interesting enough, and when I say this, it's not like, oh, poor me, but it was the top 5 guys all left there with factory rides, except for me, the guy that won. Why that happened, I have no idea, you know. But anyways, I still went, you know, next year got a great privateer ride and went and got, I think I got 8 top 10 finishes in the nationals and earned national number 44.
Nice.
You know, and that was awesome. And that was all just from, that was a 26-year-old guy at that time that didn't ride a bike for 4 years, you know. So that was kind of interesting that worked that way, you know. But I believed in myself. I was in great shape. And then the next year, my dream come true. I got a factory Husky ride. That was in 2001. I was Steve Lampson's teammate, and a bunch of JT was my teammate, a couple other guys, and you know, that was awesome. So that year wasn't awesome, but my dream came true because I broke my collarbone and my thumb all in 1 year, so my results were like all over the map, you know. But then after that, Honda came out with the 450 the next year, and I had a local shop wanted to put me on it and had all this money to pay for all the nationals. And I was like, hey, let's do it. Well, I love that bike because I've been a 2-stroke guy all my life. I got on that 450 Honda and I was like, whoa, this is my bike, you know? And I was always a little bit of a bigger guy. People considered me a bigger guy. I wasn't a 135-pound pro or 140.
Right.
I was more the 170-pound pro, you know, but that bike fit me well. Got a few other top 10s, and the next 3 years I rode for Rossini as just a privateer, but we did good, and, you know. 2005, I had been doing Supercross in Europe for 3 years at that point. And in 2005, I got a bunch of sponsors on my own and said, you know what, I'd really like to do the full Arena Cross series and try to fight for that title. And because of my age, supposedly, I talked to all the teams and none of them were interested in me.
Really?
Yeah, they were kind of like, and it was weird.
And you were how old at this time?
I would have been 28, 29.
Oh, dude, old man.
Yeah.
Fixing to get Social Security.
What's interesting is the generation before me, all the old guys did Arena Cross. Remember the Antonezas, Denny Stevenson?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But then now, here I am, I'm kind of finishing my career, and Arena Cross felt natural to me.
Right.
And I was like, hey, I felt competitive with this. Really, you know, I'd like to shoot for this title, but I need good support to do it. I'm not going to be driving there every week and be competitive and find a place to stay and all that stuff. So I ended up getting my own sponsors, and we jumped into the Buku Arena Cross Series. That was 1 year Mike Kidd did that. It was a phenomenal series. And they competed with the AMA, but all the teams went to the Buku. Yep. Nobody rode for the AMA series. And it was great. I mean, I won some mains, had a great, we had a great following. It was a good year for me. I got 4th in points, and Babbitt's halfway through, well, no, about 4 rounds in, contacted me and said, hey, would you like to ride for our team? And Josh Demuth ended up winning the title that year, and I was his teammate. But we had a great time, and it was a great experience for me. And so after that, the next 2 years, I ended up not racing the Arena Cross Series the next year, which I really wanted to because I still felt that I had a title in me.
Right.
But Babbitt didn't hire me for the next year. They ended up hiring Darcy Lange from Canada. I'm not saying that was a bad thing because he ended up winning the title the next year.
But it could have been you.
It could have been me, yeah. I mean, I felt like I was really ready.
Right.
But I ended up going back to Europe. Great time again, you know, phenomenal money, great people, and I won races over there a lot. So then the next 2 years, it would have been probably 07, 08-ish, I kind of turned in the old pro card, if you will. I think I did one or two nationals in 07. Maybe in 08 also, but I ended up doing all money races and started Damian Plutz Motocross Academy. And when I did that, it was back in Pennsylvania. We had a big following because I was kind of like the main guy in central Pennsylvania at that time. And things were going really well. Started training a lot of guys, and I saw on that Supercross list, Ronnie Stewart made it in. Well, Ronnie Stewart, 1 year, he went with me to all the arena crosses. As like a 14-year-old kid, his dad pat me on the back and said, take care of my kids. And I took him
Here's
along.
$100 and have a good
That's
good time.
right. You know, we had a great time. He's a great kid, and I really wish him all the best. But I ended up helping a lot of guys, and it's always a really good feeling, I think, to give something back.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
you know, you made it somewhere, and you have something to give. You got some value there. There's some knowledge. You know, I always look back and used to say a big portion of my injuries were inexperienced. A lot of them happened before I was pro because we didn't know any better. My dad was like, just go out there and send it. You need to do this. Well, now I'm like, I don't think that's the way to do it. You know, I look at some of the jump stuff going on nowadays, and I think to myself, if they focus so much more on the training aspect and cornering that they might be able to elevate their speed and everything else so much that that jump might not even be in the way. It might be harder not to do it, you know? So, but getting back to me, that was just a little philosophy on the training,
well,
I guess.
and you know, to that point, I was actually at a local track this past weekend, and I was talking to a local pro, up-and-coming pro, and he was out there helping a little 85, and he wasn't training, but he was out there just helping the guy. And he was telling me his dad wants him to jump the jumps, and this guy was like, I was just telling him, let's work on the corners and let's get him faster. And I said, yeah, because you go, once he gets to flow, that jump is not going to be anything. That double, the gap doesn't mean anything. Once he comes out of the corner, has the speed to drive, the momentum will carry him over it without a doubt. So you're correct.
I used to tell a horror story that I can tell you how many dads or mothers came up to me, and there's a corner that's all rutted and messed up, whatever, and the kid can barely ride through it. He looks like he's pedaling, but there's a triple coming out. They want me to teach the kid how to do that triple.
Yep.
And I'm like, let's reverse this a little bit. How about I teach the kid how to go so fast with so much confidence through this turn that it's going to be hard not to jump this triple. Like, he's going to have to brake for it. And they look at me like I got two heads. Well, everyone just got to jump that triple. Well, some of the kids know how to go through the turn.
Right.
Your kid doesn't. You know, but you can't really tell dad or mom that. I mean, it's a little challenging because then they're like, well, I'll just go to the next person. Well, whatever. In my academy, my motocross academy, I try to take it, especially with the guys that aren't at the pro level, that, yeah, we're going to learn all the fundamentals and learn everything about riding, and we're going to put a whole plan together. And if you follow this, you will become successful. But here's what we're going to add in it. We're going to see how we can do this the safest way. Because I think motocross is already dangerous enough. Why add more to it by forcing things to happen? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I know you got something very cool coming up in what you just launched. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. We actually have in studio one of your students with you that's down here training with you with your new program. We're going to tell you who that is. But I want you guys to check something out real quick. You know, 2 weeks back, we were at a local track, Boswick Creek in Mex Park, and they had a really cool club out there, something we normally don't attend, but it was called a Sunshine State Vintage Race. Damien, they had all these old badass bikes out there that were just so rad. I mean, from everything from 60s to the 70s, Husqvarna's, old Elsinore's, the old RM 125. Like, I was in heaven walking around. These guys got together and they made a three-wheeler group. And dude, they got this Sunshine Vintage Club to say, hey, if we bring enough people, will you give us a race? And they said, yeah, how many people can you bring? They brought 15 damn three-wheelers. I didn't even know there was 15 three-wheelers in the world left.
You're right.
But they had 15 three-wheelers out there ripping around on a motocross track, and some of them were actually, I'm not sure if it was, you know, dumb enough or gracious enough to let me ride one, but they had guys come down from up north, guys come up from up south. So you guys check out this clip that we filmed at Boswick Creek real quick. And hope you guys enjoy watching these three-wheelers and talk a little bit about their organization.
Awesome.
Yo, what's up? It's CJ Harris here, right here in Boswick Creek in Mex Park for the Sunshine State Vintage class. These guys come out in a massive group. They brought their own class pretty much here to race with the Sunshine Vintage State Club, and they are doing awesome. Now, I got a few of the members back here. We're going to start off with Ben. Ben, what's your last name, man?
Ben Webb.
Ben Webb. Now, he's down from up north, and he's part of the ATC Animals. Ben, tell us how this came about and why you're here in the state of Florida, besides that the weather's beautiful and it probably sucks up north.
The guys from the Florida ATC Syndicate invited us to come down and ride with them. They hooked us up with a nice truck to drive down from Maine.
All right, and then who do we have over here?
Randy Sawyer.
Randy, and you're with the Florida ATC Syndicate, right?
Yes, sir.
You guys didn't have any place to really race these things. You know, some people back in the day called them death machines, whatever you want to call it. And I can tell you from firsthand getting to ride one of these things yesterday, it is super fun. So tell us how this racing came about.
Well, we're going to try and keep seasons going. Each year we're going to follow the vintage Florida, Suncoast guys. November we've got a big Southeast Florida ATC get together up in Georgia.
Right on. And if people wanted to find you guys on the web, say somebody's got a three-wheeler tucked in their garage, how could they do it?
Florida ATC Syndicate on Facebook, North Florida chapter, Central Florida chapter, or South Florida chapter. Follow us on Instagram, Florida ATC Syndicate at yahoo.com if you want to email us. Thank you guys for allowing me to ride your bikes and having me out here and being on our show.
hopefully we see you guys around at some more of our races, and anything we could do for you from the Motostop show and Big Deal Productions, please let us know. All right, guys, tune in for a little more action later on right here at the Motostop show. All right, so we hope you guys enjoyed that little clip right there from all the ATC guys, whether it's ATC Syndicate down here in Florida or ATC Animals all the way up in the cold place up there. I forget where you guys are from, but Ben, you guys know who you guys are up there. So definitely a big shout out to all you guys that let me ride your three-wheeler and hanging out with me that day. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys are enjoying the show so far. We're going to break down a little bit and talk a little bit too. We got Addison here with us. Now, Addison is an up-and-coming pro rider, and he's now coming down to Florida. Where are you from, Addison?
Owasso, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Some good riders out of Oklahoma, I heard.
Yeah, we got Chase Marquier, Bogle, Trey, and few other guys, but it's all right.
Yeah, that guy that wears the bear goggles and...
Oh, Ronnie Mack.
Yeah, that guy. That's the only one that
Albertson.
came to my mind.
I didn't even know he was from Oklahoma. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You lost me when you said that.
He knew. The Oklahoma guy got it. I don't think you're supposed to say who it is because it's supposed to be like a mystery thing, right?
Not just from Oklahoma.
You just
did.
ruined the whole Santa Claus for the motocross, supercross industry.
Like
You've been on the show
guys.
literally 2 minutes, Addison, and you ruined everything.
It's like 5 guys that do
Hate
it.
mail is coming in right now.
Hate mail, yeah, he's coming in. So, no, it's cool. So, well, welcome to the show, and we're here with your trainer, Damien. So, Damien, first let's walk a little bit through what you got going on. I know you just kind of moved your program. You got something very exciting kicking off down here in the state of Florida. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
Well, last summer, Motocross for Christ was a missionary that we were working with.
Okay.
And they actually wanted to grow. And our family, I had been teaching and coaching riders and wanted to do it more. So I kind of merged with them, and I'm running their program now on the coaching side, and it gave me an outlet to do it full time. So I was really excited to do that because I didn't own my own facility. So I had to use other people. So we came down from Pennsylvania, and we kind of stopped in Georgia for a little while. We were there and made some great friends and did some good work. Got hooked up with Addison over in Georgia, and but now we finally made it to Florida, and we're working with Bernie at Bostwick Creek MX Park, and totally thrilled. We've only been here a few days, but the feedback from the small round riders that we had just in a couple days is phenomenal, including Addison. He rode it today, and I think you loved it. He had a great time. I think he actually said to me, you know what, that might have been the most fun I ever had on a bike in a long time. And coming from somebody, that has been racing probably since he was 5, that's a statement, I would say. And they have welcomed us, so we feel like we're at home already, and we didn't know any of those people really at all. Great tracks. It's just, we're really happy to be there.
Cool. So, and Bostwick Creek, Bernie, a real good friend of mine, so know a lot about it, and I know he's been putting in a lot of hard work into the track and kind of bringing the dirt back around and getting it developed. It is a very fun flowing track, and from a training standpoint, it almost has everything you could want. Trust me, I'm no pro trainer, no trainer at all, but if I was going to a track, they have a full-blown motocross track, which gets braking bumps. It's sometimes slick, throttle control. They have a full-blown arena cross track there. If you're on an arena cross track that you want to, you're trying to make a career out of that. They have a sand track out back if you want to cross-train and ride the trails. You guys probably haven't even ventured into the trails yet. I've only been there. You made it out there already?
First day I was out there, as soon as I got there, I unloaded my two-stroke, went out and rode some trails.
Yeah.
You like trails?
I love riding trails.
Yeah, he's all about that. He's been talking about it for 2 months.
I've been looking forward to coming here and
Yeah?
riding trails.
I'm unlike you, dude. Trails actually scare the crap out of me because when I'm racing,
I'm with you.
I can
Trees.
move somebody. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I've tried to move a tree one time, and the results weren't good, so I stopped trying to move trees.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not really the trees I like. I like the technical stuff, like where I'm riding through a river, and then you make a right up like a rock wall and stuff like that you can't normally do.
Yeah.
That's what I like doing, stuff that you shouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, and I
like,
can't do it. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to do it, and I won't be able to do it. So I'd be laying on the ground while you just drop right on out of there. So we'll keep me out of the trails, and let Addison destroy them for us and rip it up. So, so we're going to talk a little bit about you, but back to the training program. So, open to public. Anybody's welcome, or how does this work? What's the breakdown on it?
Well, we do offer full-time training.
Okay.
Almost like a Millsaps would or Club MX.
Yep.
Now, that's not open to the public.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You have to be established a little bit. So what I do is I do a little evaluation. Someone calls me, I kind of walk them through where they're at and where they want to go.
Okay.
So I want to know if it's right for them. You don't want a guy that wants to come in and just has money and says, okay, I'm just going to live here. When he's not into it mentally, and let's say he comes with 2 old bikes or something. You know what I mean? That's just the wrong program for him to be in. But we offer full-time program, we offer a weekly program, we offer a bi-weekly program, and I developed that kind of with the owner, Bernie, because he's like, hey, there's a big pool of riders in Florida that maybe can't afford full-time training, but that would love to come get some great training twice a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I said, okay, let's do bi-weekly. So now we're doing bi-weekly at a really great discounted price. So I'm kind of excited about that to see the feedback on that, because a lot of people want to do 1 day or maybe a week long, but the price is really high. And we wanted to be able to do the guy that just started out and the guy that Addison that wants to make a career out of it, you know?
Yeah, and the price point is really key. I mean, especially in the state of Florida, because I'm a big advocate of people going out and getting training, whether it's from Plots MX school, whether it's from Dean Diaz 55 or anybody. You know, I think the more training you have, the better rider you're going to become. And so you got a family that's out there, maybe got 4 or 5 kids. It's hard for them to take all those kids. Now, are they all going to be pro riders? Probably not.
Right.
But wouldn't you want your kid to be the safest he could possibly be out there on a bike?
Absolutely. Our beginner program, which I'm going to do select dates of that. Okay, that's not something that I focus on a lot, but since I had almost a 12-year career, I always say that I feel like I want to give something back.
Right.
And it's more than helping out a guy that wants to make a pro or wants to be a pro. How about the guy that his dad buys him a bike and his dad never rode and nobody knows anything about it and they're out there? To me, I'm like, that guy needs a little bit of help. It may only be 20 minutes of setting his bike up a little bit different, get him to ride a little more forward, get his arms in the right place and his feet not sticking out. Something simple as that, and all of a sudden this guy is not a risk to him and the other guy on the track or other people on the track, you know? So we do want to have a program for everyone. And right now we have really 4 basic programs, you know, and one of those is that real beginner program. It's a good fundamental, it's very inexpensive, but it's going to be fun, but it is limited to how many I'm going to do.
Right on.
You know, so it may not even be once a week. It could be only twice a month or something like that I do this.
So I want to mention this a few times while we're talking about this, but how can people find, you know, the program? What's your Instagram, your Facebook, or website?
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at PlotsMX. It's PLOTTSMX. Yeah, so I'm on all those. And I do have a website, plotsmx.com. On there, if you click on my specific school breakdowns, my calendar's on there.
Okay.
So you can go to my calendar and say, okay, what's going on this week? You know, I mean, I put my full-time schedule on there for full-time training.
Okay.
But there is also, like if I do a random day school, if we're doing a special, like we do something during the week, like I'm hoping when the Atlanta Supercross and when Daytona come, that we're going to actually develop some stuff, even with this ministry called Motocross for Christ, where we actually do maybe a day or 2 camp that's revolved around this plus the training.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Nice. And you can probably check out Bosswood Creek MX Park's website as well. I'm sure, I think I actually seen on there, Bernie already put something up. So Addison, how do you fit into this? Where did you first get on a bike at? Give us a little background to this, and then we'll walk into how you got to the training. So tell us about your background.
Originally from Maryland, and I saw Ricky and McGrath riding on TV. Looked pretty rad. Bugged my parents, and Tim Schmelian actually used to come to Applebee's where my mom worked all the time. And Tim gave her a magazine, saw a little XR50 in there, bugged them every day, and finally for my 6th birthday they got me one. And now I'm training with Damien. I've just been training with him since New Year's, but I trained with him back on 85s.
Okay.
So it's working out pretty well.
Yeah, I knew Edison when they lived in Maryland.
Okay,
And
nice.
I trained him a year when he was like, I don't know, 11 years old. And I didn't see him again until just November.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he moved to Oklahoma and I retired.
Right.
So, and then it's like, here we meet again.
Comes
now
full
in the
circle.
South. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So walk us a little bit about your racing career so far, doing a lot of amateur stuff. I think you did some arena cross last year.
Yeah, I did. My main goal last year was arena cross, but then I decided to do Loretta's again,
Okay.
and that didn't go as planned for me. Had a first turn pilot. I had good lap times in practice. Washed the front end out going into the first turn. Got run over by everybody and messed up the plate in my wrist. So that kind of put an end to my week.
Sounds like a normal Loretta's.
It was a mud fest.
Yeah.
Loretta's was like
Horrible.
should have had jet skis.
Yeah.
But yeah, just now I'm training with Damien, getting ready for arena cross. Not doing the best as I want to. Need to work on a few things, but I feel this weekend I should be more confident going in.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I can do well.
Cool. So your goal, make some nice shows, put in good results the pro night,
Yeah.
right? And Damien, I know we talked a little bit while we were driving around today, and some stuff that you're working with him, and I think you kind of, when I was talking to you, I've talked to many, many trainers over the years. The stuff, and I'm not going to break down everything we talked about, but the stuff you told me is some stuff that trainers normally wouldn't even look at, and that's where that pro level riding at that and competing at that level for so many years comes into play. And this is something we haven't even talked about, but how much I respect what you told me you worked with him today with, which is absolutely huge, because you go out there and most trainers say, hey, all right, let's work on form, let's work on turns, let's work on jumps, let's work on form, let's work on turn. Make you stand up to the apex corner, make sure you get off your brakes, make sure you do this, it almost becomes into a completely different habit. Well, you guys worked on something completely different and today, and it's really cool, something that you noticed that you needed to adjust, almost like, a mental game in a different aspect. It's not what you guys worked on, but in a different aspect. So really cool that you guys are working, and I guess you're jiving pretty good with them, and you're enjoying what you're getting out of it so far?
Yeah, I like staying there. I feel confident in my riding and my ability, but just getting out of time practice seems to be my biggest struggle. But once I get out of it, I feel like I can do well. And with the program Damien has me on, I feel strong physically and mentally now. But it's a work in progress, but we're getting there.
Right on. I've seen some videos of you riding today. I've seen some pictures and stuff, and looks like you're getting dialed in. Looks like you're hooked up. Looks like you're ripping really good out there. I can't wait to stop by the track. I'll be by Bostwick pretty frequently. So I can't wait to see you out there riding in person. Maybe grab my arena cross bike out of the garage and come throw some laps with you.
Right on.
You have to go slow. So you have to slow down, okay?
Try to.
Or I'll just bypass the loops and try to catch up.
Just don't bring a three-wheeler.
Dude, you see me on a three-wheeler?
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
could
worried
about die. But I die in style. I'm pretty awesome on a three-wheeler.
I'd like to elaborate on Addison.
Yeah, please do.
When I got hooked up with Addison again, his pops called me up and said, hey, I heard you want to go full-time and you're starting to do it more. And I know, and he had a lot of respect for me for the couple years that I did do arena crosses, winning some main events and stuff like that. And I said, hey, man, it's a whole program. I don't care if we're going to be trying for the Nationals or Supercross or whatever. But I said Supercross is going to be the hardest one because we got to go to a training facility that has a Supercross track. And that wasn't just like a turnkey thing, obviously. But the arena cross, we found a few. And now being at Bostwick, man, they have a phenomenal arena cross track. I'm really excited about that, and he's able to maintain it and change it up when we need it and stuff like that. But Addison, being with you a couple weeks, and you already know this, we talk about this all the time. Man, the guy is in phenomenal shape. You know what I mean? He listens to everything you do or you say, and he goes after it 100%. And that, I think, is rare, because I've seen a lot of riders over the years are kind of like doing another one, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think Addison, he's getting to the point where some things will start coming together, and I think you'll see a real change in him. Because up to this point, like he said a minute ago, his whole first practice blew his whole first 3 nights, I think, because he wasn't out there in the middle of the mix immediately. You know, so this week our goal is, or at least my goal for him, is we're going to change that. When he goes to
Take notes because this is your goal too now.
That's right. When you go to Tennessee this weekend, first practice, you're going to control the pace, and people are going to be trying to figure out what you're doing, not the other way around.
Right.
You know, and I think that's what he was doing because he would become one of the fastest guys, but by the time he was there, it was almost too late. Yep. The night's over, the practice is over, you know, whatever. And arena cross, man, you got to do it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and when I raced, and I honestly don't know where I came up with this because I didn't even have an arena cross track to train on back then. We just kind of rode and found some little jumps here and there, and we would do stuff, do tight turns. But for some reason, when the guy waved the flag in the first practice when it was timed, man, I was pissed if I went the first one. And I would just go, you know what I mean? And I would do my fast laps immediately. You know, so I'm trying to mold this guy into doing that because all the top guys, when I go back there now, 10 years after myself doing it, they're doing it the exact way I did it.
Right.
So I'm like, we need to become one of those. You are as fast, you're in shape, you got the equipment. You just got to do it right away. Don't wait, you know, so.
Time is of essence, so absolutely jump on it right away. Couldn't agree with him more. And that's a little bit about what we talked about today, so pretty cool to see you understanding that as well as you recognizing that. Well, Addison, how can people get a hold of you, follow you on Instagram or whatever you got on social media out there?
My Instagram and Twitter is @AddisonEmery_, all one word, and about it.
Hit you up, send you likes, thumbs up, whatever.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one more time, the Damien, what's the Plots MX?
Yeah, Plots MX. That's PLOTTS MX, and that's at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Yep.
So they're down right now for the winter. I think we're going to run into April, and then possibly go back up north until the next winter or whatever. But they're going to see how it is. So make sure you get up with them. Training
Absolutely.
programs are limited, so see firsthand what you can get. He's got the titles. He's got the accomplishments to back him up. Right here in studio with us, one of his students, giving him the shout outs that he needs, or the whatever I'm looking for. I don't even know what the hell the word I'm looking for is, but whatever. So yeah, a cool, another training program in the state of Florida. Like I said, we can't thank you guys enough for what you do, the dedication back to the sport, making everybody safer, faster, and have a better time. What if somebody signs up for your program? What is something, obviously you just gave us a little insight what you're working on with Addison, but what is something that they could look forward to, come? Is it just for, you said beginners and pros, but what about a vet guy?
Well, I have an interesting plan that a lot of trainers, I believe, that I've been around, I know a ton of them. I mean, I even have been around like the whole thing that Matt Walker's doing and MTF and a lot of those. And he's actually been to MTF and we've talked about some of their programs. Well, I have a 9-step, what I call success plan. And what I do is I take these 9 individual things that you need that are keys in motocross or really any motorsport. I think it would work. You could take those and take it to something else. And you just make sure each day you're moving forward on your goals for each one of these 9 things. And that's what I do. So when a guy comes in, the first thing I do that I think other guys don't do is I'll do a full evaluation where I write down. I see where their weaknesses, I see where their strengths are. Like for instance, I had a kid come to me the other week and I have him write down, what are your goals? Short-term, long-term, excuse me. He put top 3 at Loretta's for long-term. And I'm like, that's August next year. And I'm like, okay, well, what are we going to do from now? So that's the type of thing. Him and his parents looked at that and thought that was probably the proper goal. Like that's a good long-term goal. But really, you need to know, what are we doing today to get ahead of our competition?
Right.
Or even make it more intense. What did my competition do today? You know what I mean? And I look at it that way, and I do the whole evaluation. I do the 9 steps, and I just look at it. And I like to be with my people and evaluate them constantly. Like I'm with him, we went to the first round together. And when I was there up in Cincinnati, I kind of stood back and I was trying to not be in his face the whole time, giving advice, because I wanted him to be calm and comfortable. But I'm looking around and there's things that just immediately were, check this off, check that off. And it was things that, these are weaknesses. You need to fix this, fix this, you know what I mean? And when we got back Tuesday morning, I had my list I'm looking at. Okay, we need to fix these 3 things right now, or the goals that you want to accomplish next week aren't going to happen. And I said, look, nobody ever won and was surprised. And no champion was ever surprised either. You know what I mean? They worked to that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm a big one, like he'll know, when you work with me, there's something that I almost have you recite. Everyone that accomplishes goals in anything in life, they know their outcome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So you got to start making goals, and I do it in motocross training. Start making goals. Let's figure a way to do them, and you execute it. You know, so
Cool. Well, we wish you the
Little
best.
insight.
Absolutely, man. I love it. We wish you guys the best luck. Hopefully, you have a lot of success down here. Hopefully, Florida takes to you guys and makes you feel a warm welcome here in the state of Florida.
it's
Besides
much
the
warmer
weather,
than what we're used to.
It is
So
much
warm
warmer.
welcome and warm weather.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Once again, we got to thank Damian Plotz for coming in. Addison,
you.
what was your last name?
Emery.
Emery. All right, Addison Emery for coming in, hanging out with us. He's been sitting in the background all night listening to us to ramble on. We got to thank Goose, a new person on the Big Deal Productions team over there. We got to thank Brian, our boy, our executive director. I knew where I was going. We got to thank Tom, our executive producer. We got to thank our sponsors out there. Big shout out to Bobby at Pro Action, Ronnie Ames at HBD, Larry's Giant Subs. Anybody else willing to come on board, make sure you get with us. It's always been a pleasure, you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's a little long, so make sure you don't forget that you can get it on iTunes, Stitcher. We're on YouTube, Big Deal Productions, themotostopshow.com. Anything you can get, send a smoke message, whatever you got to do to get at us. If you got any comments, concerns, or questions, put them down below. It's been real, it's been fun. My name's CJ Harris, your host that gives you the most in motorcycle excitement. Peace out.